Yeah, I think there is a real, people obviously are lots of people who just see this as like a very sad family situation. I think will be really happy that there is a breakthrough on the personal level. But I do not underestimate the backlash that is going to come to this in the UK press. There are a lot of people who will see Harry as having ulterior motives, who will see Charles as being weak for having agreed to meet him. And one of those people, I'm afraid to say, is Prince William. Um,
The tabloids have been forced, perhaps for the first time in years, to face their own contradictions. For so long they thrived on one thing, painting Harry as an outcast, Meghan as a villain, and William as the unshakable future king above reproach. But today the cracks in that carefully constructed fairy tale are beginning to show, and the words of Tom Sykes, a longtime writer for the tabloid machine, have exposed something far bigger than a mere family squabble. He did not sugarcoat it, nor did he cloak it in the usual tabloid innuendo. Instead, he admitted the truth bluntly. There is fear, there is anxiety, and at the centre of it all, Prince William is terrified of Prince Harry. Sykes revealed that when Harry met Charles, the atmosphere around the so-called firm was electric with tension. For ordinary people, it was a moment of tentative hope, a father and son finally attempting to bridge years of icy estrangement. Yet, Sykes predicted what inevitably followed, an avalanche of fury from the UK press, egged on by William's allies, spinning even a family reconciliation into something sinister. In those words, Sykes exposed the rotten underbelly of royal coverage, because the backlash wasn't about the meeting itself. It wasn't about gifts exchanged, apologies made, or any genuine step toward healing. No, the fury stemmed from William's paranoia, from his need to keep Harry in the box of exile, from his obsession with controlling a narrative that Harry refuses to live by anymore. Why does William, the so-called heir to the throne, fear his younger brother so much? The answer is uncomfortable but unavoidable. William knows that Harry represents authenticity in a monarchy that is collapsing under its own weight of hypocrisy. He knows Harry can walk into a room stripped of titles and pageantry and still command warmth, respect, and global admiration in a way William never has. That terrifies him. That gnaws at him. And that is why William deploys his henchmen in the press, the so-called royal experts, the palace sources, the endless churn of columnists like Angela Levin, Dan Wootton, and the rest of the tabloid army. Because without them, William cannot fight Harry alone. Tom Sykes' admission is seismic. He confessed that the press is already locked and loaded, waiting to brand Harry as manipulative, waiting to paint Charles as weak for daring to extend a hand to his son, waiting to fuel the image of Harry as a constant threat to the institution. But let us pause on Sykes' final, almost mocking note. One of those people, I'm afraid to say, is Prince William. The laughter in his voice, casual as it was, laid bare what the palace tries so desperately to conceal. William is not the strong, stoic leader the tabloids pretend he is. He is brittle. He is bitter. He is shaken by the shadow of a younger brother who walked away from the gilded cage and still found a way to shine brighter. When William sees Harry, he sees the life he cannot live. He sees freedom, authenticity, and the power of truth. Harry does not need a throne to be loved. He does not need a crown to matter, and William cannot comprehend that. For years the palace has run on hierarchy, on the notion that birth order determines worth. But Harry, simply by existing outside the rigid system, has shattered that illusion. Meghan, by his side, has only magnified it further, because together they prove that human connection, not titles, is what earns devotion. This is why William and his courtiers invest so heavily in toxicity. It is their armour. Without smearing Harry, without framing every action as selfish, without casting Meghan as a manipulator, the narrative crumbles. The public might begin to ask why William, the responsible heir, cannot command the same level of warmth. The public might begin to wonder why Charles, despite decades of media training, could only reconcile with Harry in secret under pressure and not with transparency. The public might finally grasp that the monarchy's real problem isn't Harry's independence, it is William's insecurity. And so, as Sykes confirms, the UK press will keep manufacturing fury, because that fury is the lifeline of William's image. Each headline about Harry's ulterior motives is not journalism. It is William's fear, translated into print. Each smear against Charles for being weak is not analysis. It is William's resentment of a father who still, despite everything, feels the pull of love for his younger son. Every time a tabloid paints Meghan as divisive, it is simply William's jealousy projected onto a woman who dared to empower Harry instead of diminishing him. The real story is no longer whether Harry and Charles can reconcile. That question, while deeply human, has been distorted beyond recognition by palace games and media lies. The real story is that William, the supposed embodiment of stability, is fragile enough to tremble at the thought of Harry reclaiming space within the family. That fragility has infected the press, creating a cycle where toxicity is no longer strategy, but survival. Without demonizing Harry, the tabloid economy collapses. Without inflating William, the palace narrative collapses. And without both, the monarchy itself looks less like an institution and more like a crumbling family dynasty clinging to relevance. Sykes's words matter because they came from inside the beast. This was not a Harry supporter exposing William's flaws. This was not a critic of the monarchy spinning conspiracies. This was a tabloid insider, one who has profited from the spectacle, admitting, even if unintentionally, that the true weakness does not lie with Harry. It lies with William. And so we are left with the question, what happens when the world sees William for what he is? When the gloss of future king fades, and people notice the bitterness, the fear, the reliance on smear campaigns? What happens when the narrative shifts from Harry the rebel to William the fragile? That shift is already underway, because every time William lashes out, every time he hides behind sources, every time he tries to erase Harry's influence, he only proves how much Harry matters. This is why the tabloids are toothless now. Their smears have become predictable. Their outrage has lost sting. Their endless cycle of Harry bad, William good no longer resonates because the public has seen the truth. They have watched Harry thrive outside the monarchy. They have seen Meghan create brands, projects, and cultural influence without a royal stamp of approval. They have seen the Sussexes build a life defined by choice, not obligation. And against that, William's fury looks not like strength but like desperation. The fear has been spoken aloud. Tom Sykes confirmed it. William is afraid of Harry, afraid of what he represents, afraid of what he reveals about the monarchy's fragility. And most of all, afraid that the throne he waits for so patiently will never give him what Harry already has: genuine love, earned without fear or force. The deeper one looks into the words of Tom Sykes, the clearer it becomes that a monumental shift is underway. For years, William and his allies in the press operated in the shadows, orchestrating leaks, planting narratives, and ensuring Harry was the convenient scapegoat for every misstep of the firm. It was a cycle that appeared unbreakable. Harry would step out of line, William's courtiers would brief the tabloids, the press would craft salacious headlines, the monarchy would be protected. That was the unwritten contract. But now, for the first time, one of their own, an insider, a writer who fed that beast, has admitted the truth that William and his henchmen have fought so desperately to suppress. William fears Harry. Not dislikes, not resents, fears. That single word changes everything. Fear is not the posture of a confident heir. Fear is not the mark of a man secure in his destiny. Fear is the mark of someone who feels his own ground slipping away. William, whose image has been polished, packaged, and protected for decades, is terrified of his younger brother because Harry lives with a kind of freedom he will never know. Harry speaks with honesty. Harry acts without the suffocating weight of performance. Harry commands attention without demanding it. For William, the man destined to wear the crown, this is unbearable. Because what does it say about the monarchy when the spare eclipses the heir in heart and in authenticity? This is why William fuels toxicity. The smear campaigns against Meghan, the relentless leaks to friendly journalists, the endless cycle of portraying Harry as manipulative, none of it is strategy. It is survival. William's identity as the heir only holds value if the public believes he is better than Harry. If they see through that illusion, if they recognize the fragility at the heart of his persona, then the entire foundation of his future kingship crumbles. And so William clings to toxicity like a drowning man to driftwood, instructing his allies in the press to spin reconciliation as manipulation, love as weakness, and honesty as betrayal. But the public is not blind. They see how often the narratives contradict themselves. One day, Harry is portrayed as irrelevant, desperate for attention. The next day, he is somehow powerful enough to destabilize the monarchy with a single word. Which is it? If Harry is so inconsequential, why does every breath he takes merit global headlines? Why does every family meeting, no matter how small, provoke hysteria in the tabloids? The answer is obvious. Because Harry matters more than William dares admit. Because William's very identity is threatened by Harry's existence outside the institution. Tom Sykes inadvertently pulled the mask away. He exposed how deeply William dreads his brother's presence. He admitted that the UK press is already sharpening knives, ready to attack Harry for daring to sit across from his father. He confirmed what so many already suspected, that William cannot allow even a flicker of reconciliation between Charles and Harry, because it undermines the narrative that Harry is gone, exiled, irrelevant. A father forgiving his son reminds the world that Harry is still family, and that, to William, is the ultimate threat. What drives this level of fear? At its core, it is jealousy. Jealousy not of wealth, nor of titles, but of love. William is chained to the monarchy. He cannot step away, he cannot refuse, he cannot live a life defined by his own choices. He is trapped. Harry, meanwhile, made the unthinkable choice. He walked away. He chose Meghan, he chose his children, he chose a life across the ocean, where he could define his worth on his own terms. That act of courage exposed William's cowardice. It revealed that William, for all his claims of duty and sacrifice, never had the strength to do what Harry did. And so he punishes Harry through the press, because each headline that smears him is, in William's mind, a restoration of balance. But that balance is collapsing. The tabloids are toothless now. Their lies are predictable, their venom recycled. Readers have grown weary of the endless Sussex bashing, recognizing it for what it is: propaganda in service of William's insecurity. The world sees Harry thriving, Meghan succeeding, Archie and Lilibet growing in love, and they compare it to the bitterness dripping from palace briefings. They see William raging in the background, unable to mask his jealousy, and they begin to question whether this is truly the stability the monarchy promises. The tragedy is that William had a choice. He could have embraced his brother. He could have recognized that Harry's independence strengthened rather than threatened the family. He could have stood beside him, celebrated him, learned from him. But William chose fear over love, jealousy over brotherhood. And now, as Tom Sykes admits, the fear has consumed him. He trembles not at Harry's missteps, but at Harry's success. He fears not Harry's absence, but his presence. He dreads the idea that one day the world might look at both brothers and see clearly who is the true leader, not the man wearing the crown, but the man who walked away from it. The press can no longer disguise it. Their outrage is transparent. Their fury is desperate. Every smear piece is a confession of William's weakness. Every attack on Meghan is an acknowledgement of her power. Every accusation against Harry is an admission of his importance. For if Harry truly did not matter, William would not fear him. And yet he does. He fears him so much that he cannot allow his father to meet him without unleashing a storm of fury through the press. He fears him so much that he cannot speak of him without bitterness. He fears him so much that the very mention of his name destabilizes his carefully constructed image. History will not be kind to William for this. It will not remember him as a strong heir or a visionary leader. It will remember him as the brother who tried to destroy his sibling out of jealousy, the heir who allowed fear to dictate his every move. It will remember him as a man so consumed by insecurity that he weaponized the press against his own blood. Meanwhile, history will remember Harry as the man who broke free, who chose love, who exposed the truth of a monarchy built on lies. The words of Tom Sykes have ensured that this truth cannot be buried. The admission has been made. William is afraid of Harry, and once spoken aloud, fear can no longer hide behind power. It lingers in the air, it infects the narrative, it rewrites the story. The heir to the throne, the man destined to rule, is haunted by the shadow of the brother he tried to exile. That is the monarchy's greatest scandal, not Harry's independence, but William's fragility. And so the tabloids will rage. They will print their fury. They will try to twist reconciliation into betrayal, love into weakness, honesty into manipulation. But no matter how many headlines they churn out, the truth has already been exposed. William fears Harry, and in that fear, the monarchy is revealed for what it truly is. Not a symbol of strength, but a dynasty trembling under the weight of its own insecurity. To all my curious Sussex family, thank you for watching, and do not forget to subscribe, like, and put a comment. Bye bye, see then in our comment section.